Hello guys, I hope you're doing well. So a week ago or so I uploaded a video of Russian special forces allegedly breaking contact with the use of a GM-94 grenade launcher somewhere in Crimea. There was the option brought to the table that this video could be fake and from a training exercise. While there are certain points that speak for this assumption, there are also points that speak against it, and rather than trying to prove it being fake or real, I will go through this video with you guys and we will roll it up step by step and look what can be said and what's just an assumption. To do so, we will view the video from a totally different perspective and take everything as alleged. So alleged Russian special forces allegedly breaking contact, allegedly in Crimea or something like this, okay? And now we will go step by step through everything and look what we can verify. So let's take a look at the video.
Чё? Давай, уходим. Шама, работай с пулемета. Уходим.
The first question is, are these even Russians? That's a legit question because this could also have been Ukrainian guys. So how can we get an idea of where these guys are from? Well, first, they obviously speak in Russian, so could be that they are Russian because of this. However, there are also Russian-speaking Ukrainians fighting for Ukraine, so we must take a deeper look. This one is fairly easy and you don't need any special OSINT techniques to identify the source, because in the middle of the screen there is a big branding reading Sluchka Tactical. So a quick search on Telegram spits out the Telegram channel that originally posted this video in April. There is not much info about the background of this footage given there, only that it states that it's in Crimea. And the guy who posted this is basically a pro-Russian military blogger. I haven't digged too deep into his channel, but he mainly posts Russian footage, and he has also posted other videos from this group, I believe.
8
And
марта.
yeah, pretty safe to say that these are Russian guys. There was also another Telegram channel reposting this video. This time the poster assumed that these guys were either from the 3rd or 24th Guards Spetsnaz Brigade. So I looked it up if any report stated that one of these units was in the area on Crimea, and indeed there was one report that stated that according to a Russian military blogger, that has to be said, the 3rd Guards were operating in the area of Crimea in March. Now you could say they look more like FSB because the FSB is basically using this grenade launcher a lot. Well, yes and no. It is true that the FSB is using this grenade launcher quite a lot, and there are a number of videos showing it. Here are just some examples. However, there were also videos showing, I believe, regular Russian troops using this grenade launcher in Ukraine. And also Ukrainian soldiers captured and used GM-94 grenade launchers. Well, is this now a Russian special forces unit and in Crimea just because people said so? Definitely not, but the area still highly looks like Crimea because the area around Crimea is pretty much forests, and the nature of the fighting there is also pretty much like we saw in the video. So there are a lot of firefights inside the woods, a lot of probing attacks and ambushes from both sides. And even if Russia currently controlled the woods outside of Crimea, there are still always Ukrainian troops leaking through the Russian lines and conducting ambushes there. Also, Russia has a high presence in Crimea, and a lot of their fancier stuff of gear has been seen there, like BMPT Terminators, VDV Typhoon vehicles. And so it's most likely that this is Crimea. So based on the nature of combat around Crimea and the video evidence we have seen so far during this war from that area, it's pretty safe to say that these are Russian special forces operating in the area of Crimea. Still, there's a question if this is a real break contact situation in combat or just training. For this, it would be nice to know what break contact actually means. There was a video mentioned in combination with this. I tracked the video down. It's basically this video from the US Department of Defense. I don't know why there should be a problem with showing the video. I did a test and it was monetized so far, and yeah, so I will include this, but I have a way better example showing a break contact in training and even under real conditions. In general, you break contact if you encounter a superior force, get in contact with them, and you decide it's better to get the F out of there. To do so, in general, the textbook says that you pop a smoke and bound backwards under suppressing fire. To do this, you basically split your squad, team, whatever, into two elements. One element starts to suppress the enemy, while the other element moves backwards. When the other element that moves reaches a certain location, it starts to suppress, so the other element also can move, and this basically goes on till you're out of danger, in theory. In reality, it's more sloppy and not that easy and clean like it is in the exercises. This exercise, however, doesn't show it so well, I think. There's a better example from South Korean SEALs I will show you now. I will also don't talk during it, so that you basically can just see it yourself. Well, while these are good examples here right now, in reality, it does not always look so clean like it's in a training exercise, and often popping smoke is left out because there simply is no time and you have to get the F out of there. While the Russians did it extremely sloppy in the video, this is still no indication that this is no real combat, because we all know by now that Russian forces are nowhere near actual NATO forces, and just because their attempt to break contact wasn't conducted according to Western standards mean that it was not a real thing. So what can lead to the assumption that this video might be fake? Well, first thing noted was the abysmal use of cover. Well, besides the fact that this guy actually was using cover, this is still no indication for something being a training exercise. There are countless examples of cover not being used in combat all the time. Some of them even have very bad endings. This video shows a group of Ukrainian special forces during an extremely similar scenario, and these guys are also not using their cover. So should we argue here as well that this was for no training exercise? I don't think so. If one wanted to act smart, he could also argue that, well, this tree was actually no cover but concealment. It's about 8 inches thick, and there are certain types of ammunition that can go through these trees. There are videos on YouTube of people testing this. It has to be noted though that these rifles were shot from extremely close, but in reality I still wouldn't try it out. However, is this an excuse for simply skipping this tree as cover? Definitely not. Another argument that has been made was that this guy wasn't even carrying a rifle. And in my opinion, this is the most valid argument that speaks for it being fake. Because even if you could argue that he simply dropped his weapon and run, there is no indication that the weapon is lying around somewhere there. And the whole intensity of the situation wasn't, I would say, so hairy that it would justify such a behavior for a special forces unit. This can then lead to the assumption that this guy actually is a range safety officer who is overseeing this exercise, but on the other end, well, range safety and Eastern Bloc armies, well, see for yourself. This is an example from Ukrainians, by the way. As you can see, they don't take safety so serious. You could also say, well, these guys look more of a DayZ clan than the actual special forces unit, and their gear is way too fancy, especially with the ghillie suits. But first of all, ghillie suits are used in combat by Russian forces. Believe it or not, also in urban environments. Yeah, there's this video showing a Russian using a ghillie suit in an urban combat scenario back in Ukraine before the all-out war. But also during this war, they are frequently using it. There is a video showing Russian special forces. It was more of a compilation thing, but they are basically conducting attacks and ambushes on Ukrainian forces. And some of the scenes definitely look to have been also around Crimea. The video is 3 months old, I think, so it could be possible that the video of the GM grenade launcher is also that old, so not recent. That's another thing, however. But yeah, they are using these ghillie suits in combat. Another thing against the range safety officer argument is that this guy basically also could have been a Russian journalist or war blogger. Well, they have the tendency to blend in with the soldiers they're deployed with. There are a few examples of famous Russian bloggers and journalists doing this. But same with the range safety officer argument, this cannot be proven. And that should be the main message of this video. Is this particular engagement fake? We cannot tell for sure.